Oh, it's really slow. There it is. There it is. All right.
Yay!
All right. Hopefully no. Hopefully I don't crash tonight or have some other catastrophe like it's happened. I feel as though like half the shows I've done since March, I've either had a crash or an internet outage or something horrible has happened. So anyway, welcome to American Hammers TV, a part of the American Hammers Network. It's Wednesday night. We do a show every Wednesday night where we talk about stuff that's going on. I've got Zach with me tonight from our nation's capital, DC. Show him that shirt now. Whose jersey is that exactly?
So this is Canadian Mist. Canadian Mist is a Canadian whiskey.
Right, I knew that, but I mean, is it like just a Canadian Mist jersey?
Yeah, it's just a Canadian Mist hockey jersey, and then on the bottom there's a maple leaf.
That's nice. You know what it looks like? Have you ever seen the old 1972 Summit Series jerseys?
Yes.
It looks like one of those, but of course they're white on top, but they have the maple leaf on the bottom.
Yeah,
I like that. That's really nice. And down in North Carolina, we've got our friend Danny, who's got the this season's away shirt on. It looks nice. It looks good. I like it.
It feels good. It feels really nice to wear it. It's kind of ugly in the mirror, but it looks good on here.
Those shirts are weird because, like, if you look at them, if you just look at them alone, they kind of don't look that great. But when you see them worn, they look really nice.
Yeah.
Like the home shirt looks really good. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you.
It's really good.
I got a couple of. I got a San Etienne shirt because the only one I had is 20 years old. So I got another San Etienne shirt, last season's shirt on discount, and it's the Coq Sportif, the French brand. And I got to tell you, it's beautiful, and it's so nice. The Umbro stuff has been good. Don't get me wrong. I like this Umbro stuff, but this thing is just like it's like silk. It's amazing.
Yeah, they do a really good job. I'm selling one of their goalkeeper jerseys from the 80s, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
I've always liked the brand, and they always have these little touches, like little flare touches, like they put the red, white, and blue on the sleeves and stuff like that. On the green shirt, it looks good. But the quality of it is amazing. I have to say, really, really nice. But anyway, so I'll finish the stuff we were talking about before. So if you haven't gone to our website, AmericanHammers.net, check us out. Lots of cool stuff you can buy there. If you want to be on the show or on the network or be part of the thing that we do, let us know. Find us on social or email us, AmericanHammersTV@gmail.com. We're on every social network you can imagine. What else do I usually say?
Are we on VK?
Do what?
Are we on VK?
I don't know what that is.
VK is the Russian social media.
Oh, probably not then.
It's the Russian Facebook.
I don't know if we've ever had the Russian Hammers on the show. I feel as though we did. Like sometime last year, have them on. I know I've gone back and forth with them on Twitter a little bit. I know they're out there. So, have we? Am I on VK? Probably not, and I'm probably not on the big Chinese one either. What's the name of the big? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I don't think we're on that one either. But anyway, if you're,
we need to get on TikTok.
Well, what would we do?
Yeah, bring at each other. Highlights from shows.
TikTok is one that my teenage nieces do it, and my godson does it, and teenagers I know they do it, but I don't think people tell me that when you start it, it's kind of addictive, like you can't stop doing it, and I don't think I want to get into that. It's just a little much for me.
No, you don't.
I don't think I do. It's also weird.
I'm going to tell you right now, every tweet that's on there is going to be telling you that you're too old for this app and tell you to get off, Grandpa.
No, I am too old for it, though, Zach. It's true. I mean, you're in your 20s. You're probably like right at the upper edge.
Yeah, I am.
You know what I mean? I'm 46. I can't be on TikTok at my age. I don't feel right about that at all. I think it's creepy.
TikTok's weird. If you're like between the ages of 8 and like 29, you're good. And then 75 plus, you're good. But everything.
Well, 35 plus, you can do whatever you want. Because at that point, it's like nobody cares. 75
there's a whole bunch of TikToking grandmas and grandpas, and it's just like really funny that the kids force them to do it, and then all of a sudden they go wildly popular, and they're like, "Oh shit, I need to learn this app."
Right. No, you get old enough, you can do whatever you want because nobody cares. You're sort of non-threatening at that point, mostly. But my age is I'm definitely not. I'm not to that age yet. I'm still very threatening. I mean, I would look very threatening. So, anyway, we might have some other people joining us. I don't know. I sent them invitations. We'll see if they pick up or not. If you guys watched Hammer Shots, Kostya beat Tim tonight, but Tim did really well. Danny told me Tim got 17 points. I think Kostya beat him 20-17. When I took on Tim last year, I think I beat him something like 12-11. So he's gotten a lot better. He's upped his game considerably. Whereas when I went against John Nolan a few months ago, I didn't do any better than I did the first time. So no improvement there. Anyway, so I think that's all the stuff we usually talk about. As other people join, we'll let them in and continue to chat. Let's see. What have I? Somebody's. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I got you. Somebody had sent me a message. Sorry, I was just reading it. So I wanted to feel happy, okay, because we won, 2 consecutive games over teams that we almost never beat. You had, and 7 goals scored, none conceded. I mean, there's hardly ever been a better time to be a West Ham fan, right?
Right.
4-0 against Wolves. And I can't remember the last time we beat Wolves. I'm not sure when that was. It have to be when they were in the Premier League years ago, or maybe when we were in the Championship. I don't know if they were in the Championship at that time. Anyway, it's been a long time. And Leicester, we never ever beat Leicester. They were top of the table. They'd won their first 3 matches. We go in there, we win 3-0, and it's a total. We dominated that game, just start to finish, basically.
Right, so hang on. I have the answer. Last time we beat Wolves was September 1st of 2016. No,
Okay,
sorry,
well,
January 9th. Sorry, January 9th, 2016. I can't read dates. In
so
the
that
FA
was
Cup.
that was the Payet season then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you guess who scored the goal?
Who scored the West Ham goal?
Yeah.
Probably Payet.
Wait, what did you say?
Yelovich.
Yeah, this guy.
In the 80th minute.
Was
Yelovich.
that was a cup tie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
was a.
I remember Yelovich's goal. Yeah.
It was a
Okay.
volley in it. It was a volley in the 80th minute in the bottom corner.
I remember that now. To be fair, I was thinking of the league, but yes, I remember Yelovich scoring in the 80th minute. Did he ever score another goal for us?
Hang on, I can tell you. Hang on, give me a second.
I'm not sure if he ever played again. I don't remember him ever playing for us. I do remember that goal though.
He does Haller kind of 2-minute.
So that was his only goal for us. He played 13 games that season, and then he went to Beijing Rene for the 2016 season, and he's been in China.
He scored more than one. I remember him scoring against Newcastle. He went around the goalkeeper and put it in.
Did he?
At St. James's Park. Yeah, he did.
The only reason I remember his name is because of that goal against Wolves. I had forgotten that it was against Wolves. I remember that it was FA Cup, wasn't it? It wasn't League Cup. I think it was FA Cup.
It was the FA Cup. It was the third round of the FA Cup.
Right, because it was later in the season. Yeah, it was in January. Yep. Well, I'm sure we'd already been knocked out of the League Cup by then. So it was FA Cup, and I do remember that goal. And what's his first name?
Nikita.
Right, but it's not spelled. It's spelled in an unusual way.
Nikica. Nikita.
Yes. Okay, because Tim or maybe John Nolan, one of the two, beat me in Hangman on Hammer Shots with his name, because I couldn't spell his first name, and I was like, it's Nikita or Nikita, or you know what I mean? I don't know what it is. Anyway, so that's so I lost a Hammer Shots point on Yelovich, so he's really not done me much good over the years. Anyway, so we have all this. We beat Wolves, we beat Leicester. It's like, okay, great. Then the transfer window. All right. And other than Topol, the smoker's tooth polish. I don't know. How do you spell this guy's name? You guys remember there were 2 Topals, okay? Now there are 2 Topals. Remember, Topol was the guy who was a star in Fiddler on the Roof, all right? Topol was the lead actor. That was his name. That wasn't the character's name. That was the actor's name in the movie Fiddler on the Roof from the 70s.
Oh my God.
And then there was a toothpaste called Topol the smoker's tooth polish, and they're spelled the same way. Anyway.
Lee, you're really dating yourself. You know that?
I mean, I'm not quite that old. I think Fiddler on the Roof is I'll just look and see when it was made, because what else are we going to do?
There was a 1971 movie, but the play. Hang on.
Okay, the 1971 movie is before my time. All right, I was born at the end of '73, so I'm not quite that old. I am old, but I'm not quite that old.
All right, it's first on Broadway in '64.
Okay, well that's way before my time.
It won the Tony Award for Best Musical, Best Score, and Best Book.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It's actually, listen, to be honest, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen Fiddler on the Roof, I usually detest musicals. Okay, I hate musicals. I hate them. I cannot stand them. All right, but this is a good musical. The music is great. The story is really compelling. It's really good. All right, so that's one topol, and the other topol was toothpaste for people who smoked. And now this Czech guy we signed, apparently the C in Czech, right, is pronounced like a T. So it's like TOEFL or something like that. Did you guys know this?
I don't speak Czech.
Well, no, the Slavia Prague, helpful Slavia Prague English account said this on Twitter. It told us how to pronounce his name.
That's actually really nice of them.
Listen, they're awesome. I'm a big Slavia Prague fan now for two obvious reasons. But anyway, I got off on this because I was talking about how we signed TOEFL, TOEFL, whatever his name is.
Vladimir. Let's just call him Vladimir.
Vladimir, right? Which is not a very Czech sounding name. It's a very Russian sounding name to me. Like a Czech should be named like Peter or I don't know, something else.
Nice.
Anyway, at TOEFL, there you go. See, that's what I'm talking about. All right, well, here he is. I'll put him up. I'll show you TOEFL. Chaim Topol. I don't really do the Hebrew all that well, but there you go. Topol.
Oh my God.
October 1971. Listen, I mean, he's a dude. Look at that guy.
He kind of looks like Zach if he cut his hair off.
Yeah, I think you could pass for this guy, Zach. I think you could pass for Topol. It's true. It's true. I never thought about that. By the way, the hair game tonight on this channel is very strong. Between beard and just hair, we have a lot going on. I just want everybody to notice that. If anybody might still be watching 12 minutes in, if you're still interested, there's a lot of hair going on. Anyway, so we signed the Czech guy, right? Souffle. That's just how you pronounce it. It's pronounced souffle. It's pronounced bouquet, like hyacinth bouquet. He's our only signing. So Declan Rice doesn't leave because nobody ever put a bid for him. And we dump, Wilshire off at the old folks' home. I think he's gone to Rangers or someplace like that. We dump Anderson, to Portugal so he can understand what people are saying. Who else did we get rid of? I don't know. We got rid of, it seems like 30 or 40 players, and we're left with something like 19 guys. All right.
We got rid of a lot.
So, give me your thoughts, and anybody wants. There's only 3 of us here, so what do we have left for the squad, and do we have enough? We've looked really good the last 2 weeks. All right, the way we've played the last 2 weeks, I would put us up against anybody in the Premier League, especially look at Liverpool getting just tonked by Villa. I know we have Tottenham in a couple of weeks, but they looked fantastic against Manchester United, but Manchester United looked awful. I think there's no reason for us to surrender in any game that's coming up the way we've been playing. But is this sustainable until January? You guys get to talk now if you want to.
I didn't know. All right, I'll go.
I'm done. Finally.
I think the best thing has been the fact that Moyes is not around. Moyes is at home with COVID. And he's not even at the stadium. And the coach doesn't even have one of those microscopic cell phones that the North Korean coach had in 2010 to talk to Kim Jong-un when North Korea was in the World Cup. Remember that? Remember when he said that he had a microscopic cell phone?
Yes. Do you remember how they hired Chinese people
to
wear North Korea shirts and be fans? No, they weren't from North Korea because you can't leave North Korea to go anywhere. Particularly, was that South Africa? I think that was that World Cup.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's a good point. Now, Moyes is going to be back now. All right, Moyes is going to be back.
Which is very unfortunate because when we've been under Moyes, we've looked very uninspired, very lackadaisical, and we've just not looked strong. We've looked like very passive. It's kind of like when in The Simpsons when they get uniforms and they're all just gray and bland, and they're playing tag on the playground, like tag, you are it. Tag, no, you are the one that is it. I understand. It's kind of like that, and then all of a sudden the rain starts, and they get all tie dye, and they color fast, and they just like scroll all over the place, and they're like, "I'm freaking out, man!" We've been the tie dye Springfield Elementary School uniforms. That's been us without Moyes, and that.
Okay, no. To be fair, wait a minute. Okay, I do see what you're saying, Zach. But the Arsenal performance was not bad. All right, we could have had something out of that game. That wasn't a bad game.
No.
It was way better than Newcastle. Newcastle was a gray uniform, Springfield Elementary School. Arsenal was better. So but I want to get back to Moyes in a minute, all right? Because I think you got a really good point here. But I mean, in terms of the squad, we have something like 21 or 23 players, something like 19 or 20 outfield players now. Are we not a Declan Rice or Thomas Suchek injury from just, basically like reaching down into our under 18s and being like, have a go, kid?
Unfortunately, because we're not that deep, like up the middle. Other than Noble, who else is going to fill that Suchek Rice role?
Well, Noble can't fill it. Noble's 97 years old. No, I love
Noble.
Mark Noble. We all love Mark Noble. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Love
Yes,
Mark Noble, et cetera, et cetera. But come on.
But he can't be consistent. He cannot consistently keep up with the Premier League for even 65 minutes in a 90-minute match.
Of course he can't. Yeah. Here's a tastefully named gentleman saying hi. By the way, tastefully named Lee. Anyway, go ahead.
But that's frustrating because that was one of our big things that we needed to get, and we don't go out and get it. And also the fact that we have Allaire, who we're still spending all this money on from Frankfurt.
We haven't even paid him off yet.
Yes, exactly. He's still we're renting. We put him on layaway.
We hadn't even paid for him yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like he's just sitting on the bench, and he's just kind of like, well, what do I need to do? But we have Antonio, and Antonio's been on fire, which is great. But we really should be playing like Allaire and Antonio together, in my mind, and just letting that relationship.
I think so. Okay. I want to bring Danny in because all right, Danny, you're shaking your head no. You're shaking your head no.
I wouldn't change anything right now.
I can understand that argument. Go ahead.
As much Haller is scoring, he's the top scorer this season, but he's
but a lot of that's League Cup. A lot of that's League Cup.
He's not got the same work rate as Antonio.
Yeah. By the way, here's the smoker. Here's the other toe pull. Here's the smoker's tooth polish. Okay, in case you guys are wondering, this is the other two with a very attractive pitch man giving us the pitch here. All right. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Danny. You were saying Allaire doesn't have the same work rate, and I agree with that.
He doesn't, and sometimes a player who is worth less shows that they can be worth more because a player that has a bigger price tag feels as though he's justified.
Right.
So Antonio coming up from the championship is a lot more hungry than Haller, who's basically a record signing and has been told you'll come into this team and you'll be a starter. Well, you're not going to be a starter if Antonio keeps doing what he's doing. He just broke a record this weekend against Leicester for the first player since I think it was 1991 to score 5 away goals in a row or 5 games away from home in a row. And I would like to touch on what you said earlier, Lee. I think that the Wolves game is probably going to be one of our best performances all year, if not the best. Leicester, I feel like we always go to Leicester and we show up. Leicester's the type of team that we can play against because we both played a counter-attacking game. So
I can't remember the last time we beat them, though, Danny. When's the last time we actually beat them?
Beat Leicester?
We tied them 1-1 when
I remember that.
When the owner's helicopter crashed.
Yes.
The season before that, they won the league. We tied them 2-2, and Ujoa scored a penalty in the 96th minute. And last season, 2 seasons ago, Mark Noble scored that beautiful volley outside the area, and we beat him 3-0, I believe it was, or 2-0.
2-0.
When was that? 2 years ago?
2018 on Cinco de Mayo.
That's when Noble
that's 3 years ago. That's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 seasons ago.
We've always gone to Leicester and shown up. And I feel like Arsenal, we could have got something. We didn't.
Well, I think we could have.
And going back to Zach's point about Moyes not being on the sideline, we did not end the season bad last season. We came back from COVID. We
Agreed.
were terrible against Wolves. And then we went on a little run and we saved ourselves and results went our way. And then we started the season and you lose to Newcastle and you think, oh shit, here we go again. And then
Yep.
there's a reaction immediately. And I love how the season started right now. I think we're playing great. I think we're doing what we need to do. And I think the lineup is perfect. I would like to see some substitutes come in the game because, like we were saying, our squad is slim now. I think getting rid of Cullen and even Wilshere is kind of a mistake. Not so much Wilshere, but maybe loan Cullen on a recall as we need kind of deal.
He's 24. Do you think he's going to make? I mean, Danny, he's not going to make it in the Premier League, is he? He's 24.
Well,
I mean,
why can he not be given a chance? Noble's probably got this season left in him. Maybe next season if he doesn't retire. But who do we have that can step in instead of Souček and Rice? If we were to sell Rice this transfer window, we would have been absolutely fucked. Is Snodgrass or Lanzini going to drop in?
No, that's not it's not the position. And other than short of going into the U23 side, there was really nobody that we could that was in the rumor mill for us to look at. That we've contacted so and so team about player so and so, and that would fill that role nicely. But it's just it's frustrating because they're just kind of like, oh, these guys are invincible. They're invincible, and then all of a sudden somebody throws a trophy at their head and they're out for 6 weeks, and you're like, well, we're fucked. And because we've been stuck playing the same way that we've been playing for the past couple of games, so it's kind of like, are we going to change that up? Are we going to try something new every once in a while, maybe, or what? And if we don't and if we do lose Russ, or we do lose Souček, or we do lose because that's just so important to us, if we lose them, then how are we going to play, and how different is it going to be?
My thing is, right now, the transfer window is closed, and all we have option-wise is championship players or lower-level players. What did we, if you think about what we got rid of Diangana, which is 18 mil. We got rid of Wilshere at 100,000 a week. Ajeti, Cullen, Zande Silva's gone for a little bit. Anderson's gone for a little bit. Where is all that money? I think I sent a picture in the group earlier. It's like
I know. This is my question too. But remember when they said they were going to selling Grady? First of all, I think selling Grady was
biggest
a disaster.
Mistake of the season. Biggest mistake of the season.
I think it was a disaster that will bite us as the season goes along. I think we'll have difficulty on that left wing as the season goes along. I think it also contributed to the poor performance against Newcastle to open the season. Now, why things have turned around since then, I don't know. Do we credit Moyes? Did the players snap out of it? I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, we have improved since that Newcastle game. But selling Grady is something that's gonna haunt us at least for the rest of this season. But I'm with you. Go ahead, Dave.
What does it say to you guys when we sell this young, hungry player, natural winger that wants to come back to us, proved himself last season, done everything he needed to do, came back, the manager said, you're going to play, we want you to stay here. You get rid of him, and then you get rid of the other left mid option in Anderson.
Right.
So now, if you knew that you were going to get rid of Anderson, why did you not keep the young, hungrier guy that wants to play and get rid of the lazy one that costs more money and does absolutely nothing for the team? That's my thing.
I mean, we don't have a natural left wing right now, other than Masuaku, who has been playing really well.
Great.
Has been fantastic with that Cresswell combination. The two of them have been brilliant, and I love the redemption of Cresswell and Masuaku kind of as a team. Individually at left back, they're useless. Together in that wing back formation with Cresswell as more of a center back and Masuaku on the left wing, absolutely fantastic, and hopefully that continues. I don't know where the money went. All right, remember we sold Grady. I thought we undersold him at 18 million. And that money was supposed to go back into the squad, and as you said, Anderson, I don't know what the situation, I know it's just a loan to Porto, but presumably we're not paying his wages.
Keep him fucking forever. He's shit. Keep him.
I don't want Anderson back. I don't.
No.
I don't think he wants
useless.
So let's see how he does at Porto, because if he finds his game again, then all of a sudden.
League.
Okay, so hang on. It's
So
still
you could probably score 10 a year in Portugal. Against Maritimo and Boa Vista, and I mean, honestly, it's
okay,
pretty bad. There's 3 clubs in that league. We know that, and even those aren't elite.
So it sounds like the Spanish league, to be quite honest.
Well, I mean, there's a lot more. No, there's more quality in La Liga. You at least go 6 or 8 clubs deep in the Liga before you get to Leganes and Eibar and the minnows. Portugal, dude. I mean, I know a guy who played professionally in Portugal. A little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
I played
just
professionally
saying.
in Greece. I played
Well,
in Greece for a season professionally.
I'm just saying, like, Portugal is. It's not a world class league. They've produced a lot of world class players, obviously, but the league itself, not great. It's like the French league. They produce great players. The league itself is not great.
Well, the league itself has problems, and if you watched the last Le Classique, you would know about the problems. And for all who didn't, quick summary, big fight at the very end. Marseille was winning, and Neymar hits somebody, hard tackle, pushing, shoving, fighting, lasts forever. Neymar actually hits the guy. Neymar gets sent off, and Neymar's claiming that the guy he hit racially abused him, and there's no TV footage of it anywhere.
Oh yeah. No, that was a couple of weeks ago. That was the PSG Marseille game. And yes, you can drink because I said PSG. The PSG Marseille game a couple of weeks ago, right before Saint Etienne went out and beat Marseille at Marseille. By the way,
yeah, which was weird.
Last game they won, unfortunately, lost 2 and drawn 1 since then. But this is something from Charlie that I do find interesting. So we've been trying to get rid of Anderson. Then he comes out and he says he wants to play for West Ham. All right. But I mean, you could show it with your actions, Felipe. Do you know what I mean? This is what you tell your kids. Like, don't say it. Don't tell me. Show me. What I saw from him, what I saw from Anderson was loafing, moping, and people throw these statistics out and they say, "Oh, he led the Premier League in track back tackles or whatever." Man, I watched this guy play. All right, I watched this guy play. He didn't want to play for us. He was done with us. His attitude was terrible. I'm sorry. I'm very, very. I have a very negative take on this guy right now. And if you'd gone back 2 seasons, he was fantastic. He's got the ability. The ability was always there. He could take over a match. Remember that Southampton game a couple of years ago? And I think it was on Boxing Day when we gave up some jammy goal, and he went and scored the next 2. Just like, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? Put the team back, and I'm doing this. He can do it. He decided not to do it. So I don't care what he says. I don't want him back. Personally.
So Brazilian soccer players are a lot like Russian hockey players, and they have to want it. They can do it. It's not a problem if they can do it. They can do it every single day if they wanted to win games single-handedly, but they have to want to do it. I've seen this time and time again. Going back to like 10 years ago, the Washington Capitals. Caps had a guy by the name of Alexander Semin, Russian.
Mm-hmm. I remember that guy. Yep, I remember that guy.
His last name is spelled Seaman, so there's a lot of.
I remember that guy.
But
between him and Miroslav Shatan in the league, it was an entertaining era. And Rodek Bonk for a while. Anyway,
yeah. But there were games that Semin would just skate around and just be passively there, and then be other games that he just like, no, fuck you, I'm getting a fucking hat trick, and you're gonna sit there and you're gonna watch me, and you're gonna tell me I'm the best fucking player on the ice today,
right?
And because he was hungry, he wanted it, and so when his Caps contract was up, because he just didn't want it, he just sat back and was happy playing second line winger, playing on the first power play unit. And
Charlie disagrees strongly with me, by the way. Now this is, I mean, I've really riled him up here because he's a mild-mannered gentleman. So, he disagrees strong. Maybe I should just send him. Maybe we should just bring Charlie in here.
Why is Charlie not on the show right now?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll just, hey Charlie, maybe I'll just send this to your Twitter, okay?
Maybe Charlie needs to jump on the show.
Yeah, maybe he should jump on the show.
Do you guys think that maybe with this 36 million that we've profited, we may have actually paid off Haller now? Or do you think some of it's just still being slimy?
I don't know.
So knowing our owners, we did not do that.
Oh, here he is. He found his way in. All right, he found his way in.
Hey, look who it is.
All right.
I can come in whenever I want. It's fine.
You can come in whenever you want. And really anybody can. I mean, we're very loose. Okay, Charlie, I'm sorry. Danny's with me on this, I think. You cannot have watched Felipe Anderson over the last 12 months and thought Yeah, this guy's like burning to play for West Ham. I'm sorry, he looked done with us. You can tell by his body language, by his effort. I mean, not everybody's going to be Mikel Antonio in terms of effort, all right? Antonio is exceptional. He's my favorite West Ham player right now. But he just Lanzini.
I disagree with that as well, but that's a separate
Well,
story.
okay. Tell me, go.
Antonio doesn't try that hard.
Oh,
he does a lot of
kick Charlie off.
He does. I did myself. Nice to see you all. Good.
No,
it's one of those things where I think Antonio does a lot of show running, but he doesn't actually do a lot. It's very frustrating for me because I think he's gotten a lot better. Because I think before, with Antonio specifically, I think if you asked me 12 months ago, I would have given you the exact same thing, but I would have said, and he's completely ineffective. Whereas now, I still think that, but he's learned his like movement inside the box.
You still think he's ineffective? You think he's ineffective, Antonio?
No, I think he's effective now, but I don't think he's any good.
Oh.
He's a different.
How can he? Okay,
he's
how many? Okay, I know he's not a clinical finisher. Right? We've established that.
Oh, Leo!
How many
finishers doing a lot of work in that sentence?
How many? No, how many goals does he have? I mean, since the restart, let's say, doesn't he have like 11 goals in 12 games or something like that?
Yeah,
we don't have any.
Four of them against Norwich, who would probably get relegated in the Portuguese league.
Norwich were not technically down yet. All right, we technically relegated them. Yes, I know. But look, he scored Sunday. He scored like 3 days ago. He scored a very fine opener.
Good goal. Very good goal.
Okay, so hang on. So Anderson's last goal came against Charlton.
Yeah, that was in the League Cup. Yeah, so that was that second League Cup match after Hull, wasn't it, or was it before Hull? I don't know. I get them all mixed up.
It might be before Hull. Yeah, I think Danny's right.
But, so you tell. Okay, so you're Danny? Listen, I think you're on my side here. Charlie, you're because Danny knows more. Danny knows more about West Ham and more about football than I do. Okay, so I don't. This is not really.
Don't do yourself a disservice. He doesn't even say PSG correctly.
Well, I mean, you gotta, listen. I mean, you gotta have the experience to do that. All right, you gotta have the experience to do that. But you're seriously telling me? Okay. Are you really coming on here and saying that Anderson has been putting up maximum effort and Antonio hasn't? Because Charlie, I just don't even know what to say to you if that's the case.
I think.
Charlie,
how do I word this?
Do you word this? That's a good question.
It's a great question.
It's an excellent question.
I don't. Antonio. Okay. I'm trying to think of a word. I'm trying to think of a way which is polite to word this to Mikel Antonio. Antonio needs to look like he's trying harder because he's trash. Like in reality, like Felipe Anderson. I'm not going to come with you. I'm not going to come with a statistics argument because I know you don't want to hear it, although it's correct. But I don't want to bring it right. What I will say is this.
Quote all the statistics you want. I don't care. Statistics don't mean that much to me in this game. I'm sorry, they don't.
That's
baseball.
That's totally fair enough.
Baseball is a statistics game. You tell me about guys with their ERA and their whips and their wops and whatever. That's fine. Okay.
The WAPs.
Is that a real thing in baseball?
I don't know. Baseball, cricket. Okay, cricket is your, with their overs and unders and whatnots. You know what I mean? Birdies and all that stuff.
Total runs in between innings.
Yeah, I mean, cricket and baseball, okay, numbers, but football, don't give me numbers, all right? Even in American football, I don't care that much about numbers. But anyway, go ahead. So tell me why Anderson is great and Antonio's trash.
I would say numbers do count for more than what you're saying, but I think that's a fair argument. I do think it's more prevalent in a baseball, for example, by a significant margin in football. That's totally fair.
Well,
go on.
So if you've ever watched the Bundesliga, at least when they were on Fox Sports here in the U.S., they partnered with Amazon Web Service, and they had information like that pass was so many meters or so many feet, and it was at
so
this
German. Speed. That's so German.
And it's like this goal had this percentage of it going in, and
of course they did.
This free kick was this percentage of it going in. It hit this coming close to the net, and 9 times out of 10, this guy goes to the right side of the net on the free kick rather than the left.
Right.
And I've been screaming about this on the podcast when I did the podcast last year. We need more advanced statistics like this. This is something that this game needs. It's something that I want.
But you know what they didn't have on the Bundesliga broadcasts? funny jokes or humorous anecdotes. Because you're not going to get that from Germans, but you will get how far that last pass went, but you won't get a great story about a guy down the beer hall. You know what I mean? Anyway,
but you'll get a guy saying Farfignugan.
You get a guy using a word that's 35 letters long and has like 17 words in it,
And it turns out to be a suburb of another town that this guy didn't grow up in, but he played in.
It's like a word for table. It's like, yeah, that's good.
See, in my head when you said that, I was like, I can just see a pundit sitting there like, I don't know about you, but Dortmund, they've just got a real like flair of anti-disestablishmentarianism about them this year. So,
Exactly.
I do agree with Zach. I do think the football needs more statistics, and I think if you look at the clubs which use them more regularly, they're the better teams. And I don't just mean that because they can afford it. I'm talking about Brentford, who have one of the best transfer policies just around, and that's because they do it almost solely through statistics. So I think there is a merit to say about that, but I do think when you're talking about it compared to like a baseball or something like that, it is night and day. It is definitely night and day.
So we need a couple of mathematicians who are football fans to sit down in a room together and come up with advanced statistics. In hockey, there are very many advanced statistic measures that are now coming out, and same with basketball. And baseball has a billion statistics. You want to talk about baseball statistics? You can easily find those nerds somewhere. But there's nothing like that here in soccer, and it's frustrating when you're watching it and you're just kind of like, and you're like, okay, how many passes has that man up the middle? How long is that pass? How good is he on these long distance crosses when he switches the field? We don't know. No one's tracking that.
All right, I want to ask this still. I want to ask Charlie one more thing, okay, and then we'll talk about something else, if you want to. So Anderson is great, Antonio is trash. Explain to me why we take Anderson out of the team, and we have Antonio up top, and all of a sudden we're winning, and so we're winning like 3-0, 4-0 against Wolves and Leicester, and when Anderson's in the team, we look lackadaisical, and I think the guy's a cancer. I'm sorry, I think he's kind of a poison. I do.
I think you're being a bit harsh there.
Cancer is a strong word.
Well, it's not a light word.
He's more of a flu. He's more of a flu. All right.
Well, I mean, in this current climate, maybe not. But you know what I mean.
He's just the flu.
Let's not get too far into that one. I feel like I think it's not a one-to-one comparison. To be fair. I don't think it's you take Anderson out, you put Antonio in, it's a win. I think
no, it's more
what we're looking at right now is a situation in which I would make the argument for that being more to do with David Moyes, and I think that's also why Anderson is left. In fact, I think it's abundantly clear that's why Anderson left, is that David Moyes is a very stubborn man and doesn't change his ideas or his team ever. Like even when he should, you're like, yo, you a bit wild. And I think that's okay for now.
Bit of a dinosaur, I agree. But wait a minute, he did go to that. He did go to 3 at the back recently, and it's worked. Finally, it'll take him.
I don't disagree, but I think that's also the right formation for now. Whereas he should have been doing. He
should have been a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a man who's very stuck in his ways. But I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons why Anderson's left. But I think if you want to talk about like apples to apples comparisons in terms of like the actual footballers, I think when you look at it and you say, well, Antonio is in, I would argue, the second best form of his life, potentially the best. I would put second best. I think the best form was when he was playing right back, but that's a side note for another time. I think when you look at Anderson, you look at a guy who. He definitely suits a different style of play. He definitely suits a different style of manager, and I think you can successfully make an argument saying he suits a different style of team. In if you're a team who aren't totally reliant on him, then I think he flourishes a lot more than when you're just like passing the ball to him and being like, "Go on, then." Like you can't. I think he gets a lot of criticism, for example, pulling out 50-50 challenges, which I think is both fair and unfair, because I think you shouldn't put. It's like asking me to build a shelf and then being like, why can't you build the shelf? It's like, because I'm not a DIY guy, am I? I make videos. I can't do that.
I sympathize with that, Charlie. I do. I sympathize with that. I mean, you and I
don't know. Look at those shelves in your background, bro. I'm thinking you've done bits.
Well, first of all, my wife built those, and secondly, I think they're from IKEA, so you know.
Same.
But still,
Yeah.
the instructions are in Swedish. You have to translate from Swedish to English with a mouthful of meatballs.
I don't build things. All right, I'm a creative force, not a not brute force.
You build vibes, not shout. Yeah, no, I appreciate
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I build? You know what I build? Trust.
Trust. Yeah.
I build trust.
I build. Yeah, but I think that's one of the things that he gets called up on is this 50-50, and I think actually he's unaligned for that. Again, the statistics exist, but I don't want to go into it because you've already said you don't want to.
Okay, Danny, tell him why he's wrong. Tell him why he's wrong.
Tell me why I'm wrong. Bring it on, Danny. Come on,
Steve, kick his ass.
Can I just say actually before you say anything, Danny? Can I just say, great beard. Carry on.
I know he's got a better beard than I do, which I'm not happy about that.
I'm just gonna keep it growing. I think Anderson is a poor Payet, and I think the comparison there is Payet didn't have to track back as much because his ability was there. Anderson, he draws out of tackles. He doesn't work with what's around him. I feel like the highlights that I saw when West Ham signed him were he was willing to take his man on. What I've seen in the last season is he doesn't have the ability to take someone on. If he does, he'll stop and then try and beat him again. He'll try and draw fouls. When you've beat someone, keep going. He's always looking for the backward pass. The talent is there, but he would flourish in an Arsenal team. He would flourish in a Liverpool team. He wouldn't start at Liverpool, no fucking chance. But the way that they play, West Ham, I feel like, are a team that is always going to be a defensive team, and we're going to be a counter-attacking team. Anderson doesn't have the pace to be back and forth. I
don't know. I mean, I would say never judge a man by his highlights. I mean, I think that's fair. But when I look at him and I say, I mean, again, he does do the work defensively. It's just no one seems to admit it, and I don't really understand why. Like, I think there is a fundamental problem between when he's nowhere near. He doesn't see, for some reason. I don't think he's as fast in the transition as Fornals is. I think that's honestly, I think my big difference between the two is Fornals transitions from attack to defense and defense to attack. Well, maybe not attack to defense, but definitely from defense to attack way quicker. And in a David Moyes team where you're primarily defending, that's obviously a key trait you need is someone who's going to be able to get forward, which is weird because I think in a straight race I'd back Anderson every single time, but for some reason I just don't think.
By the way, I'm judging this man by his highlights. Okay, I'm judging this man. And you know what? And they're awesome. They're awesome.
They are awesome. You know, when a man's got as good highlights as that, you just. I mean, it's natural. It's natural. You know.
Messi, come on.
I want an Adams apple like that. Look at that Adams apple.
Seriously, what's going on there? He's got some sort of Adam's apple, like performance-enhancing Adam's apple drug or something that's got him all swole down there. I don't know what's going on with that.
That's the apple core right there.
All right, let me ask you this. Okay, so I do think one thing that's a little I think one thing that's a little unfair is that we're trying to judge Anderson based on his performances with Cresswell behind him, with four at the back, whereas and I'm not comparing with Antonio anymore. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
Like Masuaku, for instance, with Cresswell, Masuaku in that wingback position, Cresswell more in a center back type position. It's been much more successful. I mean, would you rather have Masuaku or Anderson playing in front of Cresswell right now?
Anderson all day. Masuaku is the most one-dimensional footballer I've potentially ever seen in my entire history of my world. Like, apart from. No, he is. He's got one trick. He dribbles, and that's it. And like, he's incredible at dribbling. And to be fair to him, to give him his credit, the last couple of games he's played, he's put in some decent crosses. That is 100% fair. But in the same way, I look at Anderson, and I think it's unfair to judge him on last season when the season before that he was so good. I don't think it's fair to judge Masuaku on the last 3 games when for 4 years he's been completely and utterly terrible. He's an unreal dribbler. Like, I don't understand how that man is so good on the ball. It's incredible. And actually, when you're
to be fair, not played in this formation before.
Right. Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
First time he's played in this formation, and it's working wonders. It's working great.
Right. He was never a left back. He was never left back. That to me was the problem. He was never left back. No. I mean, Charlie, he was awful. Okay, he was. I think part of the reason is because he was never a left back, and he was playing out of position. He's a winger. He's fast. He dribbles well. He has some decent crosses. All the stuff you're talking about. He can't defend. He could never
But
defend.
why is okay? Then why in a similar argument to I saw someone in the chat made about Cullen earlier about 3 managers can't be wrong, or 3 managers have said the same thing about Cullen. Why has every manager always played Masuaku at left back?
Because we've never employed a left back.
Before that as well, when he was at Olympiacos, he was playing at left back as well.
I saw something
I
that
can't
said he
answer
was
for
a
the
left wing
Greeks.
back at Olympiacos.
As far as I remember, they were playing 4 at the back and he was at left back. But I'd be willing to just like put that aside because I don't think I'm my Greek football knowledge isn't as strong. I can't act like it is. But as far as I remember, he was playing under Marco Silva in a 4 at the back. But I'd have to double check. I would have to double check.
He's talented, but he cannot defend. It works in the system that we're playing right now, and I think he's a great wing back.
I think he works right now, but I wouldn't go as far as I'm one of those people where I'm looking at it and he's been so bad for so long that I'm like, I'll wait and see. In the same way that I think I'm like that with Moyes as well. Is I'm like, he's doing well now and he deserves credit now because he is doing well now. But he's got such a track record of being horrendous that I'm like,
hang on. How can you say he's doing well now when he's been at home stuck with COVID for the past 2 matches?
Listen, I'm giving him the credit and not Alan Irvine. As much as I want.
Oh come on! No! It's Moyes out, Irvine in.
As much as I enjoy the joke, I can't. I'll be honest.
No! Hang on. Why don't we just go managerless? Completely managerless. Let a robot do it.
I've often wondered about that. If you just have some sort of artificial intelligence bot, that would just would probably make better substitutions.
Quick, I will get a professor.
He'd make substitutions.
Okay. Let me right. I get to get rid of the word better.
Have you guys seen
Stuart Pearce still relevant?
Have you guys seen Stuart Pearce at all this season? Because I fucking haven't. He came back
so
as a defensive coach. I've not seen a single.
I've seen Nolan, but I don't think I've seen Stuart Pearce.
The last couple of games,
I've not seen him once.
In the stands on the phone to Moyes, and then he usually has an earpiece into Alan Irvine telling the bench and stuff what to do. He's up in the stands, but I know in the Leicester game specifically, I don't know if the phone broke or what, but I did see at one point the camera cut to him and he was running down and came running out of the tunnel, walked up to Alan Irvine and was like, okay, and then ran off again. And I was like, this system is so whack, bro.
Hang on. So why doesn't he just hold up a sign like they do in college football? Batman, Alan Shearer, Ed Sheeran, random baseball logo, and that means change position.
Do not make substitutions.
Yes, they need coded signs like in college football. I'm gonna see if I can find a picture of that, Zach, because I know nobody else can know what we're talking about, but yeah, I know what you're talking
about. Or just do flags. Well, no, then you can intercept that. But hell in racing, racing has multiple flag colors. Like a blue with a yellow stripe means something, or a red flag means stop, and a yellow flag means caution, and a green flag means go, and a white flag means last lap.
I'm glad to see somebody still in the chat room, by the way. Kieran, thank you for hanging with us. Yeah, he's been on the bat phone. He's been on the because Moyes probably does live in a cave of some sort, I would imagine.
But
looks like he lives in a cave
where
anyway.
is this cave? Where would there be a cave somewhere in London?
If there is one, I'm sure he can find it. All right.
If there's one in Gotham City, there's one in London somewhere. You can find it eventually.
All right. Okay, Danny, I want to ask you a question, if you don't mind.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
So you, among the 4 of us, I think you probably have by far the most experience as a footballer. Okay. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know, Zach, how much you played. I stopped playing when I was 12. So,
No, not at all.
Charlie, I'm guessing you didn't have a tryout with West Ham at any point.
I did. I'll say this: I did have a tryout for Wimbledon very shortly before they went out of business.
Did you?
Yes, that was as a goalkeeper. I decided not to go because I was too tired that day, and then they went out of business like a month later. So there we go. That was the decision I made in my life.
That's the greatest slacker story I've ever heard. All right, so Danny, so you played football at a fairly high level, all right, compared to most people who are on this network. How much of a difference does the manager make standing on the touchline? Like how much? So Alan Irvine standing there doing whatever he was doing, shouting instructions, patting guys on the back. I don't know what he's doing. How much of a difference does that make? Having Moyes there or not there? Is it that big of a deal?
It becomes a big deal the higher level you play. When I played, I had a manager that would always let the assistant do. Basically, the manager would speak to the assistant, and the assistant would be the one that talked to us. But at halftime, the manager would be the one that talked to us. The manager is basically watching everything, taking notes, while the assistant is the one transferring everything on the field. At least when I was playing, I think it becomes a big deal to the players because you want to show the manager what you can do firsthand. But I don't know. That's a tough question, honestly. I think it becomes a case of you want him there, but in our case right now, we don't want Moyes there. It's a toss up, really, to be honest. I mean, it makes a difference, but it doesn't. Your adrenaline is pumping when you're on the field. You're not really thinking about the manager. Notes are getting passed, and
yeah, I mean, I what I'm wondering is because I do, I do take Zach's point into consideration here. A week and a half from now, when we play Spurs, is it going to be a problem having Moyes back on the touchline?
I don't think so. He doesn't do much on the sideline anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I feel as though it's gone so well the last couple of weeks.
I think the reason it's gone so well the past couple of weeks is because it suits us. I think the formation suits us. I think the opponents suit us. I think when I did Hammer the Point with Ray at the beginning of the season, and we predicted this horrendous upcoming set of fixtures. Yes. I said the team we would pick up points against is Leicester. I said we'd beat Leicester 2-0. And because of that, you look at the way we play, you look at the way they play, and you think, it's just the right thing to do. Can we just give just a quick shout out to Marvin the Martian? Though.
Well, now this is okay. So this is what Zach was talking about. All right. So these all have significance to the players in the field. These are the plays that they're calling, and these are all like codes for the plays they're calling, right? So each set of pictures means like something different, and they look at this and they say like, "Oh, okay, that means that means a play action pass or whatever." You know what I mean?
2, Y banana.
Right. So this is right.
30. What was Moyes?
32 power. This is what I'm saying. This is what we need. We need David Moyes. Like, we need this stuff like flashing on the gigantic video screen at London Stadium, with David Moyes flashing messages to his players from the world's largest, whatever that is, the world's largest video screen, and the stadium with the largest portal I've ever seen. The new London Stadium design, if you know where they've put the stands out right up, closer to the pitch anyway.
Yeah,
and it's left this like gigantic hole. It's bizarre looking. Anyway, so we don't. So Moyes coming back ostensibly not a problem for us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think the formation and the tactics suit the teams we're facing, and I think that's fine for now. Like until November, when we start to face teams we realistically can beat, then that's okay. Then I want to see us evolve and adapt our formation and stuff like that. I think it won't work as well against Tottenham. I think Tottenham are obviously they're managed by Jose Mourinho. They play a much more defensive system. They play a much more counter-attacking system. If anything, they just play a more sophisticated thing that what David Moyes does in general in life. You look at Jose Mourinho, you think that's David Moyes if he was Portuguese and a bit more gobby. Do you know what I mean? That's probably what you'd look at Jose about. And I think that's why when you have two teams that are the same and they come up like that, it doesn't really end up working out in a defensive sense. Two attacking teams, you're going to get a fun game, but two defensive teams, similar to us in Newcastle, it's not something we do well against. We're not really there yet. I'm hoping sort of our form carries us through with that one. But yeah, I think that's why it works the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's as much as, again, and I don't like David Moyes at all. I think he's the worst, but I am willing to concede that it wasn't Alan Irvine, it was David Moyes the last couple of weeks. Do you know what I mean? As much as I find it funny too, but
Yarmolenko may be out for the Tottenham game. He got injured today against France.
Well,
he wouldn't get
subbed on anyway.
7-1. They lost 7-1. I think it was Hardy.
They lost 7-1.
Didn't play today.
Yeah, Souček and Topol, neither one of them played today. They were unused substitutes, which is fine. That's fine. But this is what we're getting back to, though. I mean, what do we have? We have something like 23 players in the squad now? We have something like...
I think we have less than that.
Yeah, I think it's 19 or 20 outfield.
20.
The outfield players?
Three of them are goalies.
I think that's what it is.
Oh, it's 20 period for goalies.
Yeah.
Okay. 17 outfield players and 3. So,
well, I think we get Ben Rama in. I think Ben Rama signs.
Do you think so? I was just going to... Okay.
Yeah, I think
this is what I meant to talk about the whole night, and I forgot because we got off on other stuff. Who do you want coming in, and who do you think realistically is coming in? You got Ben Rama's out there. Who else is bouncing around in the... Oh, Craig Dawson. Oh, we don't need that. Come on.
That centre back from Swansea, Rodon, he's good.
Rodon. Yeah,
if
Can
we
I
can
say
get,
something bad again?
but we can't afford Rodon and Benrahma. That's 45 million, and you know Sullivan's not choking that. So it's gonna be one or the other. For me personally, after 2, I would like Benrahma to sign. I think he's class. I watched the championship. I've always kept up with the championship. I watched him all season. I think he was the best player in the league last season. I would love Benrahma to come in, but also by him coming in, I don't think he starts right away, unfortunately. And that's
No, I don't think.
something
I mean,
that
we
he's one
keep
of
the
those
side the
players
same
that he
for now,
needs to
right?
play, otherwise he's going to sulk. Yeah, he's going to sulk if he doesn't play. And another thing as well, since Diop's been out, Balbuena coming in, we've got 2 clean sheets. And
I
don't know if
think
that's Diop.
Balbuena's been fantastic. He's been fantastic.
Balbuena has been class, and that's something that's a toss-up. When Diop comes back, does he take Balbuena's place? And I would
Not
keep
for me.
Diop.
Not
I
for
would
me. He
keep
doesn't.
Diop on the bench.
I would
wouldn't
too.
start Diop. Yeah.
And I love Diop. I have a Diop shirt from last season, 2 seasons ago now. I love Diop, but I would not put. He's not been in form, and I know he's in COVID recuperating. He's not been injured. He's been, but he wasn't in form prior to that. I wouldn't change anything in this team right now.
No,
Not a thing.
I wouldn't either.
And if you go out and get tonked against Spurs, well, then you make changes.
It's not happening. I think we get a point from Tottenham.
Well, I think we have to see who gets injured over the international break first.
Gareth Bale will be fit and ready to go for that game. That was on the Tottenham website. Yeah.
Gareth Bale. I'm hoping Gareth Bale has, one of those situations where you can't go home again. You know what I mean? where he comes back and it's just not the same the second time. This has happened to athletes in the past. And I'm having trouble thinking of an example, but particularly in football. But in other sports, I know it's been the case where a guy goes and he comes back and he's like, it just doesn't click. Probably not going to happen. He's a fantastic player.
Thierry Henry at Arsenal.
To be fair, he scored on his debut when he came back
against Leeds in the cup.
Still a goal's a goal. I'm not turning my mouth off it. I'm not turning my nose off at it. Joe Cole for us.
Joe Cole for us is a pretty good example. He was,
Jermaine Defoe at Tottenham.
Those are the guys I'm talking about. I'm hoping it's a situation like that with Gareth Bale. I don't think it will be.
I think Mourinho's going to yell him. He's going to just continuously yell at him and ride his ass, and he's going to be like, "I don't fucking need this," and he's going to demand a transfer by January to somewhere, and he's going to end up somewhere playing in Germany or in Italy, and everyone's going to forget about him until he's called up to Wales, and everyone's like, "Oh, he scored X amount of goals playing for blah in blank league." Like, "Oh, really? Well, no one watches that league, so we don't care."
I think that's very possible, Zach. And I'll tell you something else. We all know Mourinho's on borrowed time at Tottenham, not because of results, but because his players always end up hating him. He comes into a club, he wins a couple of trophies, he's successful, and then within like 2 or 3 seasons, they can't stand him anymore. They won't play for him anymore.
See what happened the other day? Eric Dyer ran off the field to take a shit, and Jose Mourinho followed him in there. And then after the game, Mourinho had an interview, and he said, "I went in there and it smelled so bad I had to leave." But Eric Dyer came out. I don't know if he's like, I don't even know if he washed his hands.
Dude, I do love Mourinho. Okay, I love the guy's personality. I do. I'm sorry, I do. I do love Mourinho. I do. If he came to West Ham, it'd be one of the greatest days of my life. I'm not going to lie. Because we'd win something. We'd win something, but he'd destroy the club on the way out. All right, because that's what he does. He wins things, and then on the way out, he throws the napalm. Everything blows up, and he walks away like in one of those scenes.
He's been sacked so many times, Lee. He's been sacked so many times. Twice from Chelsea.
Has he been sacked any more than any other manager in the modern day football?
Well,
I think it's just the same. Is that not for everyone?
Okay,
you would think if you're a special one, you don't get sacked.
Well,
he comes in. He's very successful at first, and then I know some of the players loved him. I get that. I mean, I do. But a lot of them didn't, and he ends up every club he leaves in flames, basically.
Yep.
At least for a little while. Well, this is probably true. This wouldn't surprise me at all. Every club he leaves in flames. He does. He walks away, he throws a match, the whole thing blows up, and then he goes off into his next gig.
I am interested to see what he does with Spurs because they're a different club to the rest in that they need him more than the rest did. I think like the rest of them are sort of like big teams who could attract another big name manager like that if they wanted to. And that's not to say Spurs aren't big or couldn't attract managers, but it's certainly a much different situation than Real Madrid or Chelsea when he left them, where they were the best team in the league, or Inter when he just won the treble or whatever. It's a very different scenario for him. Right?
It is. I think, he doesn't have the. I mean, Tottenham have a fantastic squad. I'm sorry, but they do. But he doesn't. He's not. They're not at the level of, as you said, like an Inter or a Real. They're not there in terms of recruiting or in terms of players. They're not at that level. And I'm curious.
They haven't for a while. They haven't for a while.
And I'm curious to see if it's like Pellegrini, where if he gets, if he gets a team that's good but not great, he can't win with it. He can't do anything with it. Now, of course, they won on Sunday. They very decisively, but so they're in good form. But I'm curious to know if he's it's like Pat Riley in the NBA, Zach, or one of these coaches who wins all these titles. It's like Phil Jackson, he wins all these championships. Like, but you did have Michael Jordan the whole time, or you did have Shaq and Kobe. You know what I mean? Like, could you go do it in I don't know, Charlotte. You know what I mean? Could you do it? You know what I mean? Could you do it at somewhere else?
Well, so everyone who says, "Oh my God, LeBron's the greatest," yada yada yada, I'm like, okay, but if you look at LeBron's teams that he's won championships with, they were built specifically around him and him alone. Look at his Heat teams. Look at that one time he was in Cleveland. Look at this Lakers team, and they're all built specifically around him. No one else, just him. But
I shouldn't have put this up. I should not have put this up. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
But anyway, my comment back to them is, yeah, that's great and all, but can he do it playing for a shit team like, I don't know, like a Charlotte or like a Atlanta or like a
this is how look, exactly what you're saying is how I feel. And I like LeBron as a person, by the way. I think he's a good dude. But aside from that, this is how I feel about Mourinho. Okay, as Pellegrini, even when Pellegrini was at Malaga and he had all the success, they had Ruud van Nistelrooy, they had Isco, they had a lot of really good players, and then they got busted for financial fair play, got suspended from Europe next season.
I'd say to give Mourinho his credit, he did win the Champions League to bring it all back round with Porto from the Portuguese league, and who did they have up front that day? Well, he got subbed on. Benny McCarthy. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'll bring it all around.
By far his greatest accomplishment, and one of the greatest accomplishments any manager has ever managed. And I remember I was living in Paris when I watched that. I watched when they beat Manchester United. I think was that in the final or the semifinal when they beat Manchester United? I can't remember.
Anyway. They beat Monaco in the final.
Monaco, that's right, because Monaco had also an upset package, and they got through as well.
Yeah,
they beat Manchester United, and I remember that was Manchester United were obviously they still are, but especially at the time, one of the biggest, most successful clubs in the world. What he did at Porto, to me, no matter what he does anywhere else, that was a massive accomplishment that that very few managers could ever repeat. Yeah. That was his real, career-defining moment for me. Whatever he's done since then, I'm not saying it's not impressive, but just like we were saying, you go in and get a collection of the best players in the world with either a club like Inter that, and by the way, Danny had to go. He is, he's got some family stuff going on. So, he's not gonna be back. So, but we appreciate him being on. We love when Danny's on. We appreciate him being on, and hope everything's going okay there. But yeah, Inter, which is a massive Italian club, or all the places he's been since Porto, basically. Chelsea with all that money. I mean, okay, fine, but can you do it at Porto?
Well, look at Marcelo Bielsa. But Bielsa, he's been very successful where he's gone. He's won Olympic gold as a coach for Argentina, and he's been very successful where he's gone. But he's also had very good teams where he's gone.
Right.
And then he all of a sudden decides, I'm going to go to England. I'm going to go manage Leeds in the Championship, where he doesn't speak the language, knows nobody, and everyone who he's coached for the past 5 years would have zero interest in playing for him in the Championship. And he had to take that team from nothing, bring them up to pretty much being in the playoffs, and then to winning the Championship, to now being in the Premier League. So you've got to give the guy a lot of credit for sticking around.
I do give the guy a lot of credit. I absolutely do. This is what I'm saying is I would like, what Mourinho did at Porto. was borderline miraculous. I've always thought that. And I would say that, if he could do it at, let's say, West Ham or any place that, Southampton or Newcastle or, you know what I mean? Right. Well, Norwich or any mid-table or down Premier League club or, any place else that a championship type club, that would really impress me. When you walk into a club that's fairly wealthy, that already has a lot of pulling power, I'm less impressed. I figured when Mourinho went to Spurs, he'd win a trophy or two, unfortunately, and then again he would he would blow the whole place up. I still think that might happen. I just don't know if he's actually. I'm not sure he's going to win the trophy because they seem to have a problem with that. But
do you just briefly on the 2004 Champions League final? By the way, do you know what the other West Ham connection is in that match, in that final? Not apart from Benny McCarthy playing for Monaco at left back that day, Patrice Evra. There you go.
Oh, he wasn't a bad player for us.
No,
he was okay, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was good. He was mainly used as a substitute. He came from Marseille because he kicked a fan. When he was in the Europa League group stage, and he got a red card before the match. How often does that happen? Never. And then he got suspended from Marseille indefinitely. Got cut from the team. Ligue 1 suspended him for indefinitely.
Oh! I'm thinking. I'm so sorry.
Europe suspended him for
Patrice Evra.
2 years.
Patrice Evra. No, he didn't play for us very long. You know who I was thinking of, Charlie? I was thinking of Guy Demel. Remember Guy Demel?
Oh yes. Now we're talking about.
I was thinking of Guy Demel, who was really a pretty good player for us. Right?
He was decent. Yeah.
Evra, I think, only made a few appearances for us. So
I think my brain's saying 5. I think. But
yeah. No, I got him. I don't know why. I got Guy Demel and Patrice Evra mixed up. I know that's weird.
Oh, listen, equally legendary stature as football players in the game, I think you'll find.
Hang on. You're right. Patrice Evra made 5 appearances for us.
Wow. I was going to say he barely played for us. Played for us.
Okay, hang on. Want to guess his middle name?
I do want to guess his middle name. This is a great game. Hang on. Right. Patrice Evra. What would be the middle name? All right. Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Is it French?
It's nothing that I've ever heard of before, so my guess is probably.
Lee, this might be your area, but let me have a little think.
It's Patrick. It's Patrice Patrick.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
No, this is not Alex Alexiev.
Demel was a great. I thought Demel was a good player, actually. I mean, not a great player. We've never had a great player at left back at the time I've supported West Ham.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Or me.
Right. But he was good.
Patrice Horatio Evra.
No. Yes, but no.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Latyr. Latyr.
Wow.
Okay.
That's got to be a family name or something.
That's why I'm like, what the hell?
Latyr?
No, hang on. So it's actually Senegalese.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
That's
why it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't.
So there's a Senegalese singer, Latyr Sai, who's a singer and percussionist based in Tokyo.
There you go. Well,
Oh.
I didn't know Japan had an African music vibe.
Yes.
Scene.
I mean, Japan. I've not been to Japan. I have some friends who traveled there extensively, but I have not been there myself.
I wonder if you can get that in a vending machine.
You can get anything in a vending machine.
I think
you can get anything. Yeah, a lot of stuff that is, yeah. So this is. Listen, I actually did want to talk about this. All right. Can I just tell you that nothing has made me happier this season so far than the redemption of Aaron Cresswell. All right, I ragged on him like everybody else because he was terrible. Okay, he was terrible last season, and I mean he was. Nobody's saying he wasn't, but I've always liked him. All right, I've always thought he was a good servant for the club. I've always thought he was a little better than people gave him credit for being, and he comes up in moments. Every now and then he hits a free kick, or he scores the winner at Stamford Bridge. You know what I mean? He comes up in moments, and I'm loving the fact that Cresswell and Masuaku together have, at least in the last couple of games, made an excellent team, and the two of them have kind of redeemed themselves. And I would really love for Aaron Cresswell to have a very solid season, not just because he plays for West Ham and I want us to win, but because I actually like him as a player. It just makes me happy. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that or not.
Yeah, I agree. I is defending him, to be honest. I mean, I know like this season, up until 2-3 games ago, everyone was very, very negative on Aaron Cresswell.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I felt like to a harsh extent, because although I don't think he played well by literally any stretch of any
Yeah,
imagination
he
ever,
did. He was poor.
I always looked at him and thought, well, yeah, but he's better than Masuaku, I guess, was maybe my argument. But specifically the last 2 games, I think he's been fantastic. And I think in the game against Leicester, I'm willing to give him the credit for the Fornals pass, although I do not think for a second it was meant to be. I think it was literally just a boot upfield, and then
I do too. I think it was
Fornals happened to get
it was
there.
a searching pass, as they say. You know.
I want to talk about that for a second, because I've seen that ball so many times before in the States, and that ball just like goes and goes and goes, and then it hits the ground, just starts out. No one gets it. It's a goal kick, and we forget about it. The fact that Fornals was able to control it on the first bounce, and just like that, that might have been easily a goal of the year candidate.
But I mean, I think there are 2 goals we've scored so far this season that I've really loved. Well, I've loved them all because I love all West Ham goals. But there was the first one against Wolves where Antonio got keel hauled, and it wasn't the first one. I think it was the first one, and Fornals took the free kick quickly. And then Bowen scored with like 3 defenders around him.
Yes.
And what I love about that was it was so not West Ham. It was so not David Moyes. You know what I mean? Normally we have to have 45 passes. Just like in the IT crowd, they always try to walk it in. I know that's Arsenal, but same for West Ham. They have to have 45 passes in order to sort of finesse the ball into the area. In this case, it was just like bang bang. You know what I mean? Quick thinking, quick goal. Caught him on the back foot. Bowen was super professional, clinical finish, beautiful. I love that goal. The other one was the Fornals goal on Sunday. I mean, that first touch was world class. That was a Zidane, Messi, Ronaldo style first touch. You know what I mean? That 99% of the time, 99% of players do not control that ball. No. They don't. And it just goes off. And as you said, Zach, it goes over the end line, and everybody, it's a goal kick and it's all over. You know what I mean? Or he gives away possession or something. It was tremendous. And I think Fornals has quietly been very good for us, actually. And I would think he'd be even better if we played him closer to his position. But I think he's quietly been very good for us. That was I'm with you. That right now is a candidate for goal of the year. It's a magnificent goal. Magnificent goal. The kind of goals we never ever score.
I was sat next to when I watched it again on Match of the Day after, because obviously I did the watch along with Tom during the game itself. But when I watched it on Match of the Day after, with my mum's boyfriend, who's a Man United fan, and the second he did that touch, I just turned to him and went, Berbatov. Because that's the sort of thing Berbatov did for fun. Like, the ball could be 100 yards in the air, it could drop, and somehow it would stop dead on the floor next to Berbatov's foot, because that man was a magician. And it was similar to that, where like he let it bounce, and it wasn't even he controlled it with the top of his foot. Fornals let it bounce and then controlled it with the bottom of his foot to keep that momentum so he could stay ahead of the defenders, which is a piece of like a quick sort of thinking that you don't get that often at West Ham. And it's the same thing for the first goal.
That's what I'm saying.
It was the quick thinking of him playing the ball to Bowen to score.
We never do that. We never do that. West, that usually in a situation like that, that ball goes, it was a beautiful pass, but I'm with you. It was a searching, let's just see what's out there. Usually, really, not many players could do that, period. But that's not a very West Ham goal at all, because again, long ball, beautiful first touch, clinical finish. Nothing that we ever do. You know what I mean? Our goals are usually trundle around, 45 passes, and then somebody, manages to get in front of goal and poke it in. Berbatov, it reminds me of, you guys remember, I know he did this more than once, I know, but you remember Zidane's first touch when the ball was coming to him in the air and he just took it down on his foot?
Yeah.
And it might have, was that in the Champions League final? I think it was a Champions League match.
Yeah.
I think it was Champions League final when they played Leverkusen that year. I watched that one in Paris too. And it's coming. Any other player is going to trap it with his chest and bring it down, or it's going to go over his head, or he's going to lose possession, but he just as if he had caught it with his foot, just And what Fornals did wasn't quite at that level, but it was not far off. It was not far off. It was that kind of first touch, and that's beautiful football. And I love it. and you don't expect that from our club or our players. It's usually somebody else's highlight that you're watching. So
yeah, it was beautiful.
yeah,
I think it frustrates me because I don't think he's wasted in a position. I think he's there for a reason. I think Moyes picks him for a reason in that position. But
Yeah.
It does just make me feel like, imagine if we had a functional backline where
Right.
we were sort of allowed to play a 4-2-3-1 or something, where you could get Fornals in that sort of central hub with 3 players around him, just how good he could be.
I think he'd be magnificent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I think, and this is a point from Kyle that I think is really good. Listen, I don't know how other fans react to their players. I mean, the only other club I follow with any at all really is Saint Etienne, and they're French, and their whole thing is different. And it's a different culture that they have there. They seem a lot less judgmental, although they're very angry at their owners right now. So a little bit like us, but I do think that that we are very I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. We have personality disorder, mood swings as a fan base, if that makes sense. We do. We're very quick to judge sort of game to game. Even this week, I mean, we have these 2 great wins. We have a transfer window that didn't disappoint because there were no expectations, but that left us thin.
Yeah.
And we went immediately from we're going to win the league to like, we're going to be relegated. It's just like that. You know what I mean? There's no in between. I don't know. If you think that's a West Ham thing, I mean, Charlie, I don't know. You're an English guy. You're over there. Is that us, or is that just the way it is?
I think it's probably just the way it is, but it is very true. I do think we're a very without wishing to say West Ham fans in general. If I were to just say, I do think football fans in general tend to be very much "what have you done for me lately?" kind of.
Yeah, well, I think all sports fans are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I feel as though we go from. I'm not sure I've ever seen a group of fans go from elation to total despair, and we didn't even lose a game.
I was talking to Ray Borum, who does Hammer the Point, because he does fan cams on our channel on Hammer's Chat, and he was I was taking the mick out of him because every time we win, he goes, "Oh, we might get Europe," and then every time we lose, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna be in the Championship next season," and it's literally a game by game thing. He'll admit it, but I think it's. I remember we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, to be fair, about other things, but this included the idea of like, I've never been certain whether the sort of changeability and fractured sort of 50-50 yes, no binary nature of our fan base has come around since Twitter has existed, or whether or not that was just a thing that's always existed. Well,
and also Charlie, and I know you and I talked about this. I think we talked about it after the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm here in Boston. I know a few West Ham fans here, as you know. I don't talk to them very often. I don't see anybody anymore. So most of the experience I get with our fans is via social media, right? Or here in the chat room on a Wednesday night. It's a tiny sample. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The number of West Ham fans on Twitter, and I follow maybe 500 or 600 of them at this point on my own account. It's a really little sliver. So we could be the lunatic fringe. I mean, that is possible.
I like to consider myself the lunatic fringe in every aspect of my life.
I think you play the role very well, but I don't know. I mean, Zach, you probably have kind of the same experience in that I am not sort of going to work with like West Ham fans. You know what I mean? I'm not having that interaction like you'd have, like if I were in an office and we were talking about, let's say, the Patriots or the Red Sox. So, it's not like that.
I remember the first time I wore a West Ham jersey into high school. I wore it in, and like the group that I talk with in the morning before like the bell rings to get to first period, my friend Constantine, who's German, looks at me and says, "Why the fuck are you wearing that, Zach? Like, seriously, why the fuck are you supporting West Ham? Of all the teams in England to support, you have to support them." And I'm like,
I get that a lot too.
First off, he's German, so
yeah,
1966 comes to mind immediately.
Right.
And he's told me in no uncertain terms, if I wear Bobby Moore or any England 1966 gear, he is taking my head to the beheading block.
But that's charming. Oh,
But seriously though, I like even in college walking around, there was nobody else who was a West Ham fan. Like, everyone else was like Man City, Man U, Chelsea,
it's
Arsenal,
the same way here. It's the same way.
Tottenham. Yeah, occasionally you get somebody in like a Sunderland jersey or Wolves jersey, or even
Because like their cousins live there or something.
or even a fucking Norwich jersey, and you're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, but I do. I think we're a little. I think the social media West Ham fan. I think the people who like us who do the YouTube stuff. I do think we're on the fringe a little bit, and we think about it more than most people do, and we react. A little more.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Yeah,
I think it's just one of those things where I can't decide as a fan base. Like I said to you the other week when we were talking about our fair, I was like, I could never fully decide whether or not it was because I always felt like perhaps it was because when social media and Twitter first became a big thing, we also had Sam Allardyce, who is the most divisive manager you can pretty much get.
That's true.
And it's like it sort of bred this kind of you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong nature. But then I think now I've just, as I said to you, I think I've just come down on it. That's Twitter, baby. That's social media for you.
It's also the meanest of all the social channels. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's the other thing is you can't judge anything based. Although Facebook is actually worse now for other topics, you know, but but football Twitter it's pretty ugly. So you're getting the real, you know, kind of craziest of the crazy, I think. So I suspect that most West Ham fans are fairly normal people. We're the ones who are more obsessive, and you know, we notice the mood swings more than anybody else. Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, this is where we are. But you know what? Listen, who said it up here? Kyle said the same. Kyle's commenting a lot tonight, which is good. We like that. That's good. Glad to have him do that. Kyle, you should come on the show sometime. Is your name really English, by the way? I always think that's great if you're English and your name is English. That's really cool. No, that's really, I'd be like my name being Lee American. That sounds awesome. Except Lee's not a very good name for that. It had to be like Johnny American or something like that.
Johnny America.
Then it would sound super
that's an 80s wrestling name if ever there was one. Johnny America.
Then it would sound super badass, and I could come out and like, I could, you know, looking like, gentleman Chris Evans used to wear all the Union flag stuff, and so I could, Anyway, but in a way, I would rather have players from the championship than some of the players we chased all over the farmers leagues of Europe. You know. Some of these guys have worked out well for us, so I'm not ready to totally throw in the towel on the transfer window yet.
All right, so
I wouldn't say I'm ready to throw it in. I'm just
the only problem is David Sullivan.
I need to spawn.
The only problem is David Sullivan.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not ready to throw in the towel. I'm just highly skeptical. Sorry, Zach, I interrupted you.
No, but I hate to say it. Our ownership group is kind of like you know how grandparents have those really thick wallets.
Yes.
Grandparent wallet, it's just like super thick with bills and cars and stuff. It's kind of like that.
How did they sit on them? I always wondered. I don't know.
It's very painful, trust me.
Although the white male ass flattens over time, all right? So the white male, because like, you know, it just drops off into just a line.
What are you telling me I've got to come, Lee?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
It's kind of like
I don't have much definition left. You know what I mean? It's just gonna it's just gonna drop off. You know, it's like you get a little bubble. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you get a lot of bubble, but you get a little bubble. But by the time you get in your 50s, it's
like a cliff when there's been a little bit of rubble drop off, and it's just
it's straight down.
It's kind of like the stone face up in New Hampshire.
Yes, the old man of the mountains. Yes, he fell off. He fell off the mountain, and now he's gone.
Yes,
I gotta find this. There was Charlie. There was this tourist attraction in New Hampshire, and New Hampshire, to be honest, is a beautiful state, but it's culturally it's a little weird, because it's basically this sort of like weird like libertarian paradise that's stuck in the middle of New England. Or all the rest of us are a bunch of communists, and New Hampshire's full of like these there's even these colonies of people who like live like with no laws, like they're this anarchist colony sort of. Anyway, the old man of the mountains was a big deal in New Hampshire, and then I'm going to open it up here. Hang on. Where's open link in new tab?
And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it
Here
just
it is.
came off.
Yeah. So I saw him one time years ago when I was in college, and I was up on vacation up there. So there he was. Well, there he is. All right. So he's a face, right?
Oh yeah.
That's from the side. Looking from the front, it doesn't really look like anything. But when you go drive on the highway up there, I think it's the Kangamangas highway that it's on. The highway runs past the side, so you look at the side and you see his profile, and there he is. But then one day he just fell off.
He just fell off.
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone. It's just natural course of erosion and whatever. In fact, I think. Oh well, you can see what I'm doing now because I forgot. I forgot to stop sharing my screen. There he is. See, no more. He's gone.
Gone.
Just a shell of his former self. Now he's just a hill. There's nothing. Just
Craggy
There's
face.
nothing there.
There's actually a Simpsons episode about that. How it just comes right off. But
Yeah,
anyways,
So that's what a man's bottom does as he
Anyway.
ages. It just falls off.
all right, I'll take things I did not expect to talk about for 1,000, please, Alex.
You gotta know when you come on with me, you gotta know it's something. It's gonna get weird. Yeah.
All right, but anyways, the thing I was going to show you is in the VP debate tonight, Mike Pence has a fly on his head.
My God.
I hope it's a male fly for his sake, because Mike isn't allowed to be with a woman unless his wife is with him. So
What does he
I can't wait for the "Where Are They Now" segment about the fly.
yeah. Remember the guy from the presidential debate in 2016, the guy in the red
Ken
sweater?
Boone?
It was Bone, wasn't it? It was like Ken Bone.
Yes.
That dude was the best.
Oh, his Twitter account went ballistic afterwards.
Well, he was just some dude, and apparently, like, he didn't wear a suit to the debate because he tried it on the day and he ripped it out. Like okay. So he was selected. I think it was in Ohio, or someplace like that, and he was selected to ask a question at the presidential debate between Hillary and Trump, and so he's on television in front of hundreds of millions of people, and he's wearing this red sweater. And he's just like chilling the whole time. And he asked his question. It's fine. And they answer the question. But the whole thing was like, why is he wearing a sweater? Like everybody else is in a suit. Well, apparently earlier that day, he had gone to put his suit on, which he hadn't put on in many years. And he like ripped the back of it out. So he was just like, yeah, I'm wearing a sweater.
I respect that. That's the sort of thing I respect.
I just, there he is. There he is.
Oh my God, I remember that guy. Okay,
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about now.
No, he's here. Let me get an open image and here we go. The whole thing is like, it's not just the sweater. It's that he's sitting there the whole time. Like he would rather
It's the
be
whole vibe.
anywhere else in the world. Like he would rather be at the dentist. He'd rather be at the proctologist. Like he does not want to be there.
I have to say, he kind of looks like a seat filler in one of those infomercial things. Like, when I'm talking about the infomercials that run on other channels that are not showing NFL football games.
Yes, that nobody ever watches. Yeah.
And nobody watches, and it's in front of a crowd. It's like, let me show you how this juicer works.
Yes.
You want orange juice.
Well, I used to
Take an
watch
orange
those.
juice.
I used to watch those on UHF channels when I was in high school at like 2:00 in the morning, like after the British comedy would end on PBS, after like the last episode of Right Being Served or whatever. I would just watch like the juicer commercials. The crowd would always applaud, So there's Ken Bone. The poor man was miserable, and I don't know who he's up to now. But now but I gotta say, Kyle, this is a little unfair. Okay, it's a little unfair.
No. Hang on. There's a lot of stuff to do in Vermont.
Vermont is very pastoral and it's beautiful. Now, Maine, the coast of Maine is wonderful. All right, go inland in Maine, and you're on your own. All right, you go inland in Maine, and I'm just saying,
You'll get attacked by a bear.
If you're attacked by a bear, that's probably the least dangerous thing you can be attacked by, right? The inland Maine, a bear is the least scary thing you're going to run into. Inland Maine is you're in deliverance country at that point. But the coast, magnificent, really, really beautiful.
Look at Kennebunkport.
Kennebunkport, all the way up.
There's a huge compound there. Everyone
The
loves
Bush
it up
family
there.
had a huge compound there. That's right. Vermont has the Green Mountains. It's very beautiful. There's not a lot of cities. I'll grant you that. Even New Hampshire, if you go up the Kennemegas Highway, it's really nice. It's not bad.
Oh.
But I listen. I choose to live in New England, so I love New England because I'm a convert to it. You know what I mean? I'm not a native. My wife, who's a theologian, talks about the fervor of the converted. And that's how I feel about New England. But
So,
anyway.
interesting fact about Burlington, Vermont.
Yes.
They're the only state capital in the U.S. not to have a McDonald's.
Oh, so that's so Vermont. That's so perfectly Vermont.
They had one, and it didn't do well.
Something else about Vermont that most people don't know. Now, I don't know if this is still true, but it was for many years, it was legal to carry a weapon around Vermont, concealed or not concealed. However you want to do it, you could just do it.
Really?
Yes. Now, I don't know if that's still true, but you could carry a firearm in Vermont. Just carry it. Nobody, I'm not sure many people did, because Vermont is as far left as you're going to find.
I was going to say, isn't that where
Bernie Sanders is a senator from Vermont?
Yeah.
Vermont is, but there was also, the circles touch at the other end, and they were just like, yeah, you want to walk around? It's fine. We don't care. Do whatever you want. Yeah. See, listen, everybody loves giving New England a hard time.
So hang on. Lee, you're right. Both open carry.
You're from Indy, Kyle? Oh, Lord. Sorry.
All right. So both open carry and concealed carry are legal without a permit in Vermont. Any person 16 or older who legally possess a firearm is allowed to carry open or concealed. There's no distinction between resident or non-residents. Both are allowed to carry without permit in Vermont. Therefore, the state does not issue a permit.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have a permit. You don't have anything. You can go to Vermont and walk around with your piece hanging out all you want.
Well, you could go ski. You could go cross country skiing in Vermont because there's a lot of. By the way, there's a shit ton of skiing in Vermont. It's beautiful. Yes. It's a great place to ski. Although the sun goes down at like 3:30.
In the winter, the sun goes down here at 3:32. Yes,
it's just kind of like, oh, it's 3:30. Oh, the sun's going down. It must be like 5. It's almost dinner time. Nope, it's 3:30. Like, what the fuck?
I will say this: Indianapolis. I have been to Indianapolis. All right, now it's been many, many years. I've been there a long time ago. I have friends who live there and they love it. I have a really good friend who lives in Indianapolis. I have one friend from college who's been there for quite a long time, and another one who moved there from Chicago, and they both love it. So I shouldn't say bad things about Indianapolis. And I do like the racing. I have to admit. I used to watch Indy as a kid, and my son, my 10-year-old, loves auto racing. So I get that.
Oh, is that why it's called the? I'm going to be really stupid in English here. Is that why it's called the Indy 500?
It's Indianapolis 500. Yep, Indianapolis.
Oh, right. Okay.
By the way, there's
one of those things I know about, but I don't know about. If you know what I mean.
There's like one. Now, Kyle, this may be wrong now. It may have changed, but like when I was in Indianapolis like 20 years ago, there was like one road that went to and from the track. The huge, seats like 100,000 people, right? So it's a big raceway. There was one like 2-lane road that went to and from, and that was it. Because I remember my friend Leilana, I went to college with. She moved from Kansas City to Indianapolis, and she's like driving along one like Memorial Day. That's when the race is normally. And she gets to this road and she can't get across it because it's jammed. And she's like, what's going on? Well, it was race day and they were lined up in traffic to get to the speedway. So she had to like turn around, go all through the city some other way. So I don't know. That's like Foxborough Stadium and where we'll make this football relevant. That's where the Revolution play. It's now 2 lanes. Route 1 is now a 2-lane road. That's all you get to and from Foxborough Stadium. That's only way in and out.
And like for a Patriots game, it's a bloody nightmare to get there.
If you go to a game or a concert is the same way. You really had. Now I do love tailgating, fortunately. All right, but you got to be ready to tailgate because you're going to get there hours early, and you're still going to park unless you want to drop a lot of money to park. You're going to park in a non-sanctioned parking lot, which is just like grass. You're going to tailgate for a couple hours, and you're going to walk like 45 minutes to the stadium, which you can see, but you never get there. It just stays in the distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then all
of a sudden, you're like on top of it. Now they built some stuff around it. Okay.
Yeah,
they built stuff around it, so it's a little better now. But yeah, and then afterward, to get out of the parking lot, just forget it. Get your grill out, get your beers out. You got 2 or 3 hours. You're not going anywhere. Well, this is why I don't go to Patriots games. Who wants to do that in December?
So what we've done, because my family's been to both concerts and football games down there, we've taken the T.
You can do that if you're in a place that the T will get you back to. Yes.
Oh, we've gone from Back Bay Station, which is where it originates. No, sorry, that's where it stops there. But like for a preseason game, it's fine. But
Yeah.
it starts in South Station. We just pick it up in South Station and get on there, sit down, and it's about an hour each way.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. But
The T schedule sucks though. If you live like where I live, up north of the city, like my T stop is Billerica on the Lowell line. The T schedule coming out, I mean, it's like once every 2 hours, especially on a weekend. Like nobody goes to Patriots games on the T because you can't get home. You'd never get home.
right.
It would just stop running, and then you'd just be in Foxborough, which is in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, so Kyle says it's all been redone in Indy, which is good. You take like 5 hours to get there. That's what my friend said. Of course, that was many years ago. This is crazy. It really seats 500,000 people. That's nuts.
Huge.
That's bonkers. That's like the whole city of Boston. Like this inside the city limits of Boston is only 600,000 people.
I mean,
So
that's like twice the borough I live in, which is mad.
This is cool. I'll bring your cooler in. Times were better when you could bring stuff into a stadium.
Yeah.
You didn't have to buy $35 beers once you got there. You know what I mean?
Well,
this is why Texans wear boots to sporting events, right? Because you put your flask in your boot. That's why. It's not just for looks. It's you put your flask in your boot, and then you get a Dr. Pepper at the game, so you get a cup, and and then you got something to drink out of the rest of the time you're there.
Well, the traffic jam thing is just beautiful because obviously one of the wonders of living in such an old city where none of the roads make any sense whatsoever is that it's not just like one road that gets blocked up, just the entire borough will just come to a standstill. Like you try to go to like any major football stadium and an entire borough just shuts down because none of the roads make any sense. They all crisscross over each other. There's cars coming from every direction. You've got buses coming in, everything. Right. And the beautiful thing is if you know the area as well, you know for a fact, you look at the road and you think, you could just take this left and you could go half a mile down adjacent to the road you're going and no one's on that road. But because people come in from out of borough and just have no idea what's going on,
they don't know.
The entire thing just shuts down. It's amazing.
This used to happen in my hometown. So like Kyle, you all know I was born in Texas, right? So I grew up there. Small town, Midlothian, Texas, about half an hour up from Dallas. So it was a very small town when I was growing up, but it had railroad tracks that went through town and cut off all the highways that went through town. Now they've all been built around since then, so you can go right past the town and never have to go through it. But you used to have to go right through Midlothian if you're on 67 or 287. You had to go right through the middle of the town. And when the trains would come through, the coal trains would come through, and one of those could go by for 30 or 40 minutes. I mean, easily. They were long, hundreds of cars, and if you got them coming through at the same time, they could actually paralyze the whole town so that you couldn't get in or out. It was like totally shut down. So it was kind of the same thing. I mean, you'd see people just like turn off the car, hang out, talk to each other, wait for the train to go by. There's nothing else you could do. It's all been redone, of course, since then because in the name of progress. But I remember seeing that there was a huge wreck one time on the highway in Arlington when I was in college, and it shut down the entire highway, and people just started getting out and just like chatting with each other, having drinks, whatever, pass the time.
All right, so I don't know if you know this, but Midlothian, Texas, grew by 121%.
Oh yes, easily, yeah.
In the last census.
When I graduated high school in 1992, there were about 5,000 people there.
Yep.
Now there's probably closer to 25,000.
Well, so according to a 2019 estimate, they're saying 33,000.
Okay, that's about right. It's exploded in growth.
Well, and then you got an airport too. So
little one, yep. Waxahachie, Midlothian, Waxahachie, whatever it's called.
Midway.
Midway
Airport.
On one side of the sign, the letters are blue because that's Midlothian's color. On the other side of the sign, the letters are green because that's Waxahachie's color. So,
that's actually really cool.
It's kind of cool. It is a little bit cool. My cousin has flown into that airport a couple of times. He's like an amateur pilot. But all right. So Kyle wants to talk about West Ham. I don't know what his problem is. He wants to talk about West Ham. I don't know why. what that's all about. What do we do in Reed? Let me just say something about Winston Reed. I was really planning on going to see Sporting Kansas City when they came to play the Revs because he would be with them. Of course, now there's no fans allowed in the ground, and I don't think they're even coming now. The MLS schedule totally changed due to COVID, right? So they're not traveling as much as they used to. They're keeping it more regional. So I don't think he's coming now at all. what do we do in Reed? I mean, surely he can't have much left, can he? I don't think he's even played that much for Kansas City, has he?
Well, not only that, but the question becomes, how does he get from the U.S. back to the U.K.? Because he's going to have to quarantine for 14 days when he gets back to the UK.
He is going to have to quarantine, yes. We can't go anywhere right now. You guys realize that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, useless little document right here. Can't do anything with it. Won't let me in anywhere. So,
Well, it's kind of funny. Well, actually, Mexico is starting to allow some Americans back.
Oh, great. That's much better.
On the news tonight, there's a couple who was honeymooning in Cancun, and the whole Hurricane Delta just came through Cancun, and they've been forced to sleep in one of the hotel's restaurants.
Everybody was evacuated. Yeah,
was evacuated. And so they're like, we're stuck here. There's no flights in or out.
That's tough, man.
And my mom's like screaming at them, like, did you not watch the news? Did you not know this was coming?
Well,
they landed 2 days ago.
Well, okay, they should have known if it was 2 days ago. But it's hard to cancel a trip like that. All right, he does have two. This is true because we signed him to the was it a 5 or 6 year contract?
It was absurdly long, whatever it was. It was
a footballer to a contract that long.
It was like when Newcastle signed Alan Pardew to an 8-year contract, and you're just asking for trouble here.
Are you kidding me?
Love Winston Reed, okay, but I mean, he's talking about putting one over on us. Look at this. I mean, 70K. We'll never ever sell him. He's done. I love him. Last goal at the Bowl-In. Great.
I do think someone would take him.
I have an idea. We restart the indoor football season.
Bro, okay. Sorry.
Like it used to be back in Wimbledon.
Zach, I was saying the exact same thing not 2 days ago.
Really?
I was bagging on about it.
Let me just tell you something. The old it was called the Major Indoor Soccer League. Okay, sorry.
The MISL.
MISL. In the 80s, that was awesome. Dallas had a team called the Sidekicks. I used to go to those games every now and then at Reunion Arena in Dallas. Fantastic entertainment. Loved it. It's the whole thing where you play the ball off the wall. You know, it's not futsal. It's indoor. You know what I mean? Love that.
Like hockey boards.
Right, like hockey boards. If Boston had an indoor soccer team, I would go. Look, we wouldn't be able to go right now. But you know,
either of you two watch. It used to be. I know it was only on in England. I don't know if it was on in America or if either of you two know anything about it. It used to be called the Masters football.
Yep.
Which was all of the actual Premier League teams, but with players, their ex-players making indoor football teams. So you had like an indoor, like West Ham team, and it had like all the old West Ham. Mate, I want it back. Let's get back involved.
Okay, so Kenny Brown posted on Twitter about that today, Charlie. Something about
do you know what it is? Because Amazon Prime over here, I don't know if it's the same over there, have just got all the rights to it and have just uploaded it all onto Amazon Prime. And I'm low-key over international break. I don't know. I think I might have to go back. I mean, Parks and Rec is also on this. I'll probably just watch Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec is very good. Yeah.
But Masters.
So this guy right here. All right. Sorry. This guy right here. Tattoo. All right. Tattoo. TATU. Brazilian. Okay. Greatest player in Dallas Sidekicks history. This is the most Dallas photo ever, by the way. You got the rock radio station down here, the Eagle, KEGL. You got Dr. Pepper, of course. The sidekick. This is just like my childhood, basically in one, like, you know, in a frame.
He's got the same haircut there that my uncle has now, which is worrying.
So this guy was one of the greatest indoor players of all time. All right. He played in Dallas his whole career. And in fact, he played in something like 4 different leagues because the league kept going out of business. But Dallas would start up a team in the new league and he would play. And then he coached. He played for like 20 years. Every time he scored a goal, he took his shirt off and threw it into the crowd. Every time. Every goal. Took his shirt off, threw it into the crowd. He came and did a clinic for my youth team one time when I was maybe 10, 11 years old. And I'm telling you, the guy was a rock star. Absolute rock star. I mean, everybody knew him. Everybody, you know. I know it's weird because you don't think of that, especially in the 80s, it hasn't been a big sport. But in the cities that had indoor soccer, right, like Indy, places like Indy or Tacoma, San Diego had a team, Wichita, they weren't, you know, it was massive and it was awesome. And I loved it.
Hell, even Baltimore. There was
Baltimore Blast.
Yeah, the BBC Match of the Day went to Baltimore when the Blast were in the original MISL. When the Blast were the thing to go to, sold out Baltimore Arena, and the Blast used to come. They used to make their entry. They had a like a spaceship that would come down. It kind of looked like the spaceship from E.T. It would come down to the felt, and they would make their entrance through that. And it was just kind of like the coolest thing ever. And it just was like so unique and so quintessentially American.
Oh, that's what I love about it. Yeah.
And but the problem was with the original MISL was their marketing. They didn't market. They marketed to children with no disposable income. They didn't market to parents of children who might play soccer, which was the correct way to do it. And that's why the league has. There's been 3 iterations of the MISL. There was the CISL, there was the WSL, and then the NPSL, and then now we're on the MASL, Major Arena Soccer League, which is great. We have teams. There's teams in Mexico, which is great and all, but at the same time, it's an issue of if you're playing in Baltimore, how the hell do you cheaply get to Monterrey, Mexico?
That's the thing. You don't. This league doesn't have that kind of budget. That's the problem. I think Dallas finally gave up the ghost on having a team.
No, they still exist.
But do they really?
Yeah,
but they play. I think they play.
They play at the Allen Event Center.
They play in Allen, which is up north of the city, in one of those new suburbs that I've. There were like 30 people who lived there when I was a kid. Now there's like 100,000. But they do. You're right. They do. Look at that. They're still going. I loved them when I was a kid. They won the 1987 Major Indoor Soccer League Championship. Very dramatic game. I think it was Wichita. No, not Wichita. The Tacoma that they beat. I think it was Tacoma. Very dramatic game. And I'm telling you, it was, man, they were awesome. I would go watch this. I would watch that stuff right now.
It's fun as hell to watch and to be there in the stands. So I met Pete Rose. Pete Rose was one of the original investors for the Cincinnati Kids, one of the teams in they played only 1 year in Cincinnati, and they started the whole thing. And so it was the Cincinnati Kids against the New York Arrows at National Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Anyways, Pete Rose is at the game, and Pete Rose kicks the first ball ever in arena soccer history. And so last year I was in Vegas for a conference, and Pete Rose was doing a signing. And so I'm like, Dad, I want to get Pete Rose's autograph. Like, okay, they have baseballs in there. Let's get a baseball. No, I want a soccer ball. I was like, what? And so I had to tell him the story. As we're in the Uber going to Dick's to get a soccer ball, I'm telling him the story as to why he owns, why I'm doing this. Right. And I get the soccer ball. We go in. We pay for the autograph. Pay for the authenticity of it. And the guy's just kind of like, why the hell is this? And so I'm showing him. I showed him the pictures. He owned a soccer team back in the 70s. Do you know that? And they're all handlers of him. They're with him.
Yeah.
I had no idea this happened. And so I hand him the soccer ball, and he's like, oh my God, you're probably he looked at me like, you're probably one of 3 people that actually remembers this.
Was he banned for gambling on his own team?
No. So actually, no. But he said the best thing about indoor soccer, it constantly moves.
Listen. I mean, it
hits the net, hits the wall, it goes right back into play. It's not.
That's what I love about it. It's like hockey, but a sport that I actually like better. All right, now if you're a young woman out there, and you have aspirations, all right, let's say you want to be a world famous Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. Okay, let's say you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and you want to be a world famous Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, but maybe you're not quite there yet. Okay, maybe you could be a Dallas Sidekicks dancer. Just like Lindsay, who's celebrating a birthday, presumably today. Or we have Melanie, Sydney, Gina. Gina's from Forney. That is a small town in East Texas. My mother was a teacher in Forney in the 1960s, the first year the school was integrated. Forney, Texas, bigger than it used to be, but it was very small back then. These are your Brownsville. That's way down on the border. That's right next to Mexico. These are your Dallas Sidekicks dancers. So, don't give up. Okay, don't give up.
I love how excited you got by the mere mention of Forney, Texas.
Well, Forney's grown a lot. Okay,
but hang on. Do you know how big Texas is?
Oh, Texas is massive.
Texas is bigger than France. It's bigger than France. So, in fact, it's kind of a lot bigger. But Forney is east of Dallas. It's a small town. The high school mascot in Forney is the Jackrabbit. Okay. So many years ago, my hometown Midlothian and Forney used to play each other in football, and this before I was born. This back in the 50s. And in order to intimidate the young men of the Forney football 11, the bunch of kids from Midlothian killed a bunch of jackrabbits and hung them up all around downtown Forney, which is like 3 buildings. They killed a bunch of jackrabbits and then like hung them like upside down all over town just to remind them, like, we're coming to get you. So.
You should just do what West Ham fans did to the Man United bus at Upton Park and just lob bottles at it. There you go, done, sorted. Got us a 3-2 win that day. Sorted, no worries.
Who drove? Okay, I'm not saying that we should lob bottles at buses. Who drove?
It was categorically a bad idea.
I mean, it's the last game at the Boleyn. There's tens of thousands of people in the street. Okay, at what point does the driver say, maybe there's a back way? Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, again, it's one of those things where I could tell you there was not a back way, but what I can tell you is, just go there early. I know it's a pain, but just go there. I get you have your schedules and everything else, but you think this one situation where it's going to go wrong.
Show up like an hour earlier than usual, right? Like plan it a little bit.
Because I remember, because obviously I was here. I didn't go there that day. I didn't get a ticket, annoyingly. And so I did the review on Hammers Chat. This was the first year Hammers Chat. So I did the review with young Tom and a guy called Scott. And so I was just sat here and like watching it. And the flipping, I could see all the chaos, and Sky Sports showing all the chaos. And I kept getting phone calls from like people who were there, namely Gio, but other people as well, just telling me everything that was happening. And then I remember getting a drunken phone call from someone I know, just going, "Charlie, the Man United bus, it can't fucking move." and then like two to 3 minutes later, Sky Sports cuts to the outside, and there's this sea of humanity and just a bus in the middle of it, unable to move, with just things flying in, and I'm like, just get there early. This is such a basic thing. Why did you not do that?
Do you remember the Copa Libertadores?
Yes.
I don't speak Spanish.
Libertadores, yeah.
When Boca Juniors played River Plate, in the second leg, and they were driving through town to the stadium, River Plate, and the bus rocks get hurled, bottles get hurled. Literally anything that you could throw at it got hurled. Glasses break, players get shards of glass all over, and game has to be postponed, and they end up playing the game in Madrid, and it's just a fucking mess.
Who won that game, by the way? I don't even know who
Plate did.
Who did?
River Plate did.
River Plate. Okay, I never knew.
Well, so what's ironic is that I watched the game in Spanish, not speaking a word of it, but I do that all the time.
I've done that many times. I've done that many times over the years.
I watched Japanese wrestling without being able to say a single word of Japanese, but it's very exciting.
I like that show. But
by the way, go ahead.
The thing that bothers me is that, one, they drove a Boca Juniors branded bus through town, and two, how did everyone know to be where they were? Like, did somebody publish the bus route beforehand or something like that? Because it's just like the fact that there were just so many, like from all the videos I saw on Twitter and stuff, all the people on there. I did a podcast with a couple of people I know about this. I'm like,